Hello again, Justin Coffin for the 330 Sports Show. As you can see, if you're watching on screen, we're going to do a Jaws movie breakdown, and I'm going to bring on Greg and Doug here in a second. But just make sure you guys are liked, subscribed, all that stuff to the Youngstown Studio YouTube channel. That's where all the videos go. Facebook, we're still posting stuff live and all that good stuff, but make sure to follow the YouTube page. And as well, if you want to throw the 330 Sports Show either on the YouTube page or all the social media, give us a like or follow. That really helps us out. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Doug and Greg. And there's Greg and Doug, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. So, guys, I'm gonna read you a very brief write-up of this, and then we'll get going from there. So, let me see here. Jaws is a 1975 a movie directed by Steven Spielberg, based on a 1974 novel. It stars Police Chief Martin Brody, who, with the help of marine biologist and professional shark hunter, hunts man-eating great white shark that attacks beachgoers at a New England summer resort town. So you know the basic plot. That's where we're gonna, just leave it there. But yeah, this movie, 1975, 50 years old, just turned 50, I think, like 2 weeks ago. We're recording this on June 29th, 2025. So 50 years old, before all three of our times. But, Doug, you're kind of the group expert on this movie. Doug and I, for those people that might not know, we're cousins. But his dad had a lasting legacy. We, always going down to Myrtle Beach. But I remember as maybe a 10-year-old kid watching Jaws with your dad, our Uncle Chris, and maybe a couple others, and then proceeding to go night swimming at about 10:30 in the Atlantic Ocean in Myrtle Beach. So, Doug, give me some of your memories of this movie and what it means to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever remember not watching this movie. I've probably been watching it since I was a baby. I've definitely seen this movie more than any other movie. Going to the beach probably would have been a big reason of watching it, just, with the shark and the ocean in the movie. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. And Greg, how about you? What's your lasting memories of this movie?
Oh man, I definitely haven't seen it. I'm probably on the lower end of probably the normal average of how many times I've seen it. Now, that being said, I've still seen it probably double-digit times, but I feel like the average person's probably seen it 20, 30 minimum. And I can't remember the first time I watched it, but I was thinking about it when I was watching it today just to prepare for this, is that there's not too many things in life that have 100% approval rating, but if Jaws might be on that list, I don't think I've ever come across anybody or heard anybody be like, what really sucks is Jaws. It just feels like it's universally beloved, and it's just one of those things that's really truly 100% approval.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, all three of us have seen it a different amount of times. Doug, I'm guessing you've seen it the most. You've said you watch it every year. I've probably seen it a good 10 to 15 times. But again, rewatching it maybe in the last 2 weeks, it still holds up. It really still holds up as a phenomenal movie. Like Greg said, it's got 100% approval rating across the board. Doug called it his favorite movie of all time. I would probably put it in my minimum top 5, if not top 3. So, what do you think it is about this movie that kind of makes it special? Doug, I'll have you take that one.
So really, Quinn is probably my favorite character in the movie.
Yeah.
But even with him, he's only in the movie until half the movie.
Yeah.
You never hardly even see the shark in the movie. It's really all the characters in the movie and how they're reacting to it. Yeah, but like Greg said, I think there's not really anything that I think that I would change about it. I like everything about the whole movie, the music, everything. Yeah.
So, for anyone that hasn't seen one of our breakdowns, here's kind of what we're going to get into on the show a little bit. So, Jaws turns 50, and again, myself, Greg, and Doug are going to be breaking this down. But like, here's kind of some of the things we're going to get into: best scene, the needle drop, or like best song or score, best quote, best piece of memorabilia, age the best, age the worst, recasting, facts and trivia, complaints and grievances, unanswerable questions, and MVP of the movie. So we're probably not going to do those like point by bullet point. We're going to mix in those. But let's just start. Doug, you mentioned the characters. Let's start with the characters, and that's why this makes it so good. First of all, the director of those characters happened to be, I know he wasn't even 30 years old yet. I know he was somewhere between 25 and 29 years old, but Steven Spielberg, this is an unbelievable accomplishment before the age of 30. So, let's start there. Greg, Doug mentioned Quint was his favorite character. How about you? What's some characters in this movie that stuck with you?
I mean, there's so many. Quint is my favorite character as well, played by Robert Shaw. He's absolutely phenomenal, and actually, I think he's 48 when the movie was made. Looks like he's probably 65, and he actually only lived 3 more years. Died in 1978, so he lived hard, and I feel like that character, and especially the time with him on the boat, was probably not that far off from what the real Robert Shaw was like. Rewatching it again today, really had I think more appreciation than I'd ever had for the Hooper character played by Richard Dreyfuss. I thought he was really he really captured that, kind of the paranoid scientist, but also like the voice of reason.
Yeah.
And it also kind of hit me, and we not to touch on like age the best, age the worst, but and especially in today's society, whatever side of the aisle you're on, we've definitely kind of reached this age in society where sometimes we like to question science or we like to question experts. And that jumped out at me a lot in Jaws, of just watching like this guy basically being like, yeah, you still have a shark problem, and people kind of just shoving him off. And with that being said, the mayor character played by Murray Hamilton is a great villain type character, but also kind of entertaining. And we didn't even talk about the main. We didn't even talk
about we're gonna get to them, but now that you brought up the mayor, I want to talk about him real quick. And Doug, you can. I know you've read the book, so you can probably allude to this more. But the mayor gives this like little talking to Martin Brody on the boat across, it's like a ferry. They're like ferrying. And by the way, it's like Amity Island, but I believe it was filmed at Martha's Vineyard. Mm-hmm. So not Amityville from the horror story, but Amity, just a fictional town in New England. But the mayor gives this amazing speech. He's like, at the end of it, and it's all one shot. So that's great directed. But he says, you yell Barracuda, no one listens. You yell shark, we got a problem. And that stuck with me. That would be one of my favorite scenes in the movie, or favorite quotes in the movie too. But Doug, can you shed some light on this? I thought I read somewhere that the mayor might have been in like trouble with like the mafia, and they took that out of the movie. Is that like part of it?
Yeah, there's a lot of differences between the book and the movie, and that is one of the things that he's kind of got pressure from the mafia to not close the beaches, just to keep the money coming in. But he's got some heat on him from the mafia.
Okay,
as his reason.
That's interesting. So, so if there's anything like major that we're talking about that's a big difference between the movie and the book, let us know. Yeah. I know there's a scene, I believe, with Martin Brody's wife in the book that they took out with another character.
Right. That's actually with Hooper in the book.
But I'm really glad that is different.
Right.
Because that would have made this movie big time big
just
time different.
to add one thing on that, Hooper's character lives in the movie, but in the book he dies, and that's part of the reason why, like, you kind of don't like him in the book, so he gets killed off in the book.
Interesting.
But there's no reason to not like him in the movie, so they have him live.
Yeah. All right, so let's go. Let's just start. I mean, everyone's seen this movie. We're not spoiling anything, and if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, it's 50 years old. But let's just go, and maybe you can throw out a few scenes, but we don't have to start at the beginning and go to the end. We're just pick out your favorite scene in the movie, and just go ahead and cook. So, Greg, let's start with you. You saw it this morning, you said.
Yeah.
So, it's freshest in your mind. So why don't you, what stuck out with you in that?
Yeah. The interesting thing about this movie, though, is really it's like and it was very vivid watching it again today, is like it's two movies, right? It's almost split in half. The first movie is basically, the shark attacks the beach, the whether or not to close the beach down, the kind of the chaos around all that. Then they get on the orca, and that's the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
And my favorite scenes, although they kind of run together, were on the orca this time, and just the three of them in the boat, telling stories, sharing scars, singing, and just like that kind of stuff. For me, stood out the most. Is just the most enjoyable. I love when movies do that. I love movies like Pulp Fiction, where it's just where the dialogue is such a big part of it, and it's really just you're just showing the characters being who they are. Yeah. So that one really jumped out to me.
Yeah, and I recently had seen a post. There's been a bunch of like 50th anniversary stuff, but the Quint character tells the Indianapolis story, and I didn't know about, much about that. Doug, like, I'm going back to you for your expertise on this. So
yeah,
what do you know about the Indianapolis and why that played such a big role in that story?
Yeah, so his Indianapolis speech, that I would say that's my favorite scene in the movie. But that really gives you Quint's backstory, like what he has against sharks, like what his motivation is to go out there and get it. That really gives you his whole character right there in that speech. Mm-hmm. And just to bring some significance to the date, like as we're recording this here today, June 29th, he finishes that speech with June the 29th, 1945.
Oh, wow.
And that's actually not even the right date. That's the date he said in the speech, but it was actually July 30th, 1945 that happened. So that was a mistake in the movie. There's a mistake in the speech. And also, too, when the Kidner boy dies, that's also June 29th in the movie when that happens.
Damn.
So just to tie that in for today's date.
Yeah, this won't play on June 29th, but that's kind of fun.
Right.
We're recording on that anniversary.
Right. So the speech, though, I know originally was real long, and it didn't really it wasn't giving Quinn as much like a reason for you to kind of like his character.
Yeah.
So he rewrote the whole thing himself, and actually read what he came up with in front of Steven Spielberg and a couple of the other head people while he was drunk, and they loved it. So that's what they end up using. And there's a lot of stuff in there about, like, there's one guy who says that he wrote the speech and gave it to Quint, or he helped, and there's a lot of story that says that's not true, that it was Quint that wrote, or Robert Shaw that wrote the speech himself.
Interesting. He seems like a very interesting dude back in the day. Like Greg said, he probably looked like he was 65 when he was 40, 48 or whatever doing this movie. Yeah. But yeah, that guy never turned down a drink in his life, from what it sounded like on the set, off, he also, from something I read, and I don't want to steal any trivia away here, but I believe he took $0 from this film. He made $0 because he was like evading taxes, and went back to Canada and stuff like that. So
he had to leave the set a couple times just to be out of the country.
I mean, it just sounds like an unbelievable character that's like truer than fiction.
I'll add one thing in on him, on his character real quick too. The one when a bunch of guys go out to try to get that $3,000 bounty for the shark, and Ben Gardner's the guy who they they see his head underwater when they go out and look. That character, Ben Gardner, is an actual like island resident who played that part. His name's Craig Kingsbury.
Okay.
And Quint's character, like his personality, is based off of that guy's real life personality. They had him and Robert Shaw spend time with him to kind of get that personality that he has in the movie.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And I was going to just mention one more thing about him and his character. Like, we know a lot of people that can throw a few back, you know, here and there. Like, there's like those 1 or 2% of those people that drink that are actually like might be performing at a higher level than their normal like standard soberness. And that guy seems to just absolutely take off once he's been drinking. So I don't know. But Doug, did you want to follow up with anything there?
For favorite scene, yeah, I had the Indianapolis speech as my favorite scene. I also like it in that bounty meeting.
Yes.
The town hall meeting when Quint first comes in there and gives his speech there. And then also the scene when they're just leaving to go out on the ocean, kind of like in Quint Shark Shack first, then they have the scene going out. Those are probably my favorite scenes in the movie.
Agreed. I love it. Go ahead.
Nails on the chalkboard entrance is also one of the better like character entrances ever. You know, it's I guess it's an entrance. He's already there, but like just the nails across, and it's very symbolic kind of the character that he is. He is kind of he's for as much as he's entertaining as he is, he probably is a little bit nails on the chalkboard for people that have to be around him. Especially Richard Dreyfuss in real life, which we'll get to later. But those two had it out a bit on set, I guess. That's sort of what they say.
So, you know, again, like Doug mentioned, the scene where he's like, I'll catch him for 3, but I'll kill him for 10. And I sent you guys that math. So like the $10,000 back then would be about almost $60,000 in today's money, which 6 to 1, that's pretty good. But like $60,000 to put your life on the line to go catch a shark, not doing it. But the thing I was going to say is I want to say, like, I don't know how you guys feel. Doug, I know you've been going to Myrtle Beach for years and down to Florida and stuff like that. Greg, I know you've been in the ocean and stuff. But, like, there still is, to this day, with a lot of people, a major fear of the ocean. And I think it comes from the remnants of this movie. Like this was before we were born, but like our parents saw it, like our aunts and uncles and grandparents all saw it. And like, they kind of, I almost feel like, I don't know if the fear of the ocean was there like it is now before this movie was made. So you guys have any opinions on that?
Yeah, just like hearing from my dad, I know he has said that like people were afraid to go in the bathtub, people were afraid to sit on the toilet, like really anything with water, just like people were afraid.
If you're in Florida, you might be afraid to sit on the toilet if like a snake's coming through or something. But that's a whole different movie. But yeah, I've heard that about the bathtub and stuff, but like I've never seen a shark in the ocean. I've seen some big fish and stuff, but there's always something just like in the back of your mind that's like in that like reptilian portion of your brain or whatever that's like fight for survival or absolute fear of dying. And like, the shark stuff is in there. And I know that's true for many people I know, but I just thought that was interesting. Yeah. Greg, you got any thoughts?
No, I was just saying, I'm sure we've all been in the ocean and you feel something on your foot. Or you see something, or you think you see something. I to this day, and I don't know if it's Jaws or not, but it's probably part that I'm not a big fan of going in. I'll go in, but I'm not one of those that likes to go out and somebody will be like, hey, there's a sandbar out there about 200 feet. I'm like, that's fine. Go ahead. I'm good here. All good. Yeah. So.
I know from the movie or after the movie, like shark fishing, there was a huge spike in it. And I know that's something that Peter Benchley really didn't like. He didn't like that he brought such a negative light on sharks from the book and then the movie.
Yeah.
But even going back to what Greg was talking about, Hooper's character, I've always loved sharks, and more in like a scientific way, not like a killer shark type way. But that goes back to Hooper. Like even though I say Quint's my favorite character, I like Hooper's character a lot, that he's like knows a lot about sharks and he's interested in them. And so I credit that back to him, that I have an interest like that.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. It's like, when you're like kind of scared of something, but it's kind of fascinating. That's what I think this movie has done. It's kind of that same way with, like, obviously we're around a lot later than dinosaurs, but I think, like, being a little kid growing up, like, most kids are like fascinated with dinosaurs, and that's kind of the same thing. It's like a big creature that's mysterious and it's kind of scary. So that's really, really interesting. All right, let's jump into another category here, and I think I don't even need to, when I say needle drop or best like song of the movie or score of the movie, I think we all know the score by John Williams, who, like, this pretty much like set him off, catapulted his career. He was another young guy too, like, but the Jaws theme, and I wish we could play it, but copyright stuff, we can't. But
if any of us had a piano, we could play it pretty easily right now. Is
it like, what is it? Is it like
F and F sharp? Yeah.
F and F sharp. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew it was like 2 chords, but that's pretty awesome. And, I mean, but that music, I honestly, like, I'm thinking back, I can't think of another, like an actual song in the movie, how there's like actual music. Like, I can't think of one. Maybe there is. Doug, you know any better?
So knowing that was going to be on there, my favorite song in the movie is actually not the main title song.
Okay.
The song is like there's been a few versions of the soundtrack that have come out. From the original, it's called Out to Sea, or there was just a 50th anniversary edition that was released like a week ago. It's called Going Out to Sea. But it's the song that plays, like I said, one of my favorite scenes when they're leaving like the Quint Shark Shack to go out on the ocean, that music that's playing there. And I think just that coupled with like the visual that you get when they're going out, is you see it like through the window of the shack, through a shark jaw, you see the orca going out. But that is my favorite song in the movie, or favorite part of the soundtrack.
He's not bullshitting you either. There, I Googled it.
Yeah.
There it is right there.
This is a little embarrassing, but I listen to the soundtrack a lot. If I'm reading and I just need background music on or something, I'll play it. Or sometimes, like, before I'm going to bed, I'll just put it on. And like Spotify does their Wrapped at the end of the year. And
why is everyone leaving Doug's house party? Because he keeps playing Out to Sea on Jaws.
John Williams was my #1 artist last year on Spotify Wrapped.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Hey, I mean, though, like you said, if you're listening to it to read or to relax or just chill or whatever, no judgment here. If that's all you're listening to all day long, Doug, we're gonna have to have a conversation. No, but that's cool though. I'm glad you said that, Greg. You have any favorites on the Jaws soundtrack?
Yeah, I was saying there's not much, but "Show Me the Way to Go Home" is they sing that, which I assume is an actual. I don't. It's an actual song, right? Or I've never heard the song other than them singing it in the movie. I apologize to whoever it is if it's like
it says it was written in 1925 by Jim Campbell and Reg Connolly, an English songwriter duo who allegedly had 1 or 2 drinks while writing the song.
That sounds about right.
So, yeah, okay.
But yeah, 2 notes, but the main score, 2 notes, and it's iconic. It just shows what you could do with music and tempo and volume, right? It's like it's faster and louder as danger gets closer. It's like I'm sure they teach that in film school and teach that in music school as just how to convey fear through music in the simplest way possible.
And to touch on your point and to touch on Doug's point earlier, it's the music building, but it's also them not showing the shark as well. And that it's like fear of the unknown. And like, that's what I was talking about, being in the ocean, being in the water. Like a lot of times you can't see your feet. So you don't know what's around you. You don't know what's left, right, in front of you, behind you, whatever. And that's the scary part too. And then this music portrays it perfectly. What two notes again? F?
I think it's F and F sharp.
Okay. Piano players, get out there.
I'll throw out one more quick trivia here that's music related. But Quint sings the Farewell and Adieu a couple times in the movie. But there's actually a TV show that Robert Shaw was in the 50s called The Buccaneers, and he sang that same song on that TV show in the 50s. Man.
Was it do you remember any of the lyrics? Was there something about like a bow-legged woman or something?
He said that at a different point in the movie too.
Okay.
That wasn't part of that song. Yeah, he says, here's this woman, bow-legged women.
Yes, yeah. It sounds like something like mine and Doug's grandpa would have said to us when we were younger. Oh man! All right, so let's take a quick trip back to 1975. How much do you think gas was per gallon back then? They're gonna fill these boats up somehow.
49 cents, be my guess.
49, Doug.
My first number popped in my head was 85 cents a gallon. That's probably high though.
Okay, so in between, but Greg, not too bad. 53 cents a gallon. 53 cents a gallon. The Kool-Aid Man made his first appearance in commercials. So there's that. Gerald Ford was the president. Anybody know who the vice president was? No one remembers the vice presidents unless they become president.
Right.
Yeah.
Nelson Rockefeller. How about that?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's not a whole lot of exciting stuff in 1975. But how much would it have cost to get into the movie Jaws? Top-rated movie of 1975, bringing in $260 million.
I'll say 25 cents.
Yeah, I was going to say like 30 cents.
This one is surprisingly high. It's $2.03. Yeah.
Huh.
So, and by the way, 50th anniversary of Jaws, but also Saturday Night Live too. So premiered the same year. So if anybody else has any good 1975 songs, or trivia, throw them out. But we'll move on to another category here. So we've kind of referenced best quote so far. We've mentioned a few scenes in the movie. Let's go with the best quote. And Doug, I'm going to let you, for the most part, lead off on most of these topics.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could really go off here, but
you can give us. How about we'll each do one, and then we'll throw out some more honorable mentions after that.
So I'll just give out. I don't remember exactly what he says, but something that I never even noticed until the one time I had the TV on and captions were on, which I hate, but. It made me notice that in that scene where they are about to go out to sea, they're getting the boat ready and everything. And Brody's talking to his wife, and Quint is just kind of in the background, just going off, saying all kind of stuff. And I never even noticed that he was, or what he was saying, until I saw the captions on the TV. But it's actually pretty funny. You'll have to pay a little bit of attention to that scene to hear exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
Probably not anything I want to talk about on a show.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But it's worth looking at it just because not really appropriate, but it's fun. It's funny. It's worth paying attention to.
No one wants to. Doug's a teacher for anyone that might know. We don't want to aggregate a clip where he's saying something inappropriate and his students can use it against him.
For the times now, definitely not appropriate. Not appropriate even in 75, but not now.
Yeah. I have a feeling Quint had a free pass to say whatever he wanted, and no one would say much back. But yeah, you'd get canceled for a lot of that stuff today.
Right.
Greg, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go to maybe the obvious one, probably the most famous one, and a line that's one of the most famous misquoted lines.
Yeah,
is you're going to need a bigger boat, which I think has been misquoted often as we're going to need a bigger boat. But when Brody's chumming and the shark comes out and he gets the big eyes and walks back and says that to Quint. That's just an iconic line. I don't know where it ranks in all time, but I know it's up there on the top 100 like movie lines list.
No doubt.
And I've used it like in real life too. Like,
Oh yeah.
Just anytime, you kind of, something happens and you're not equipped for it. I've used the word, I probably said we're going to need a bigger boat, but I've used that line before. So
yeah, that's a Mandela effect thing right there. Like some people think it's, oh, you're going to need a bigger boat. We're going to need a bigger boat, whatever. Doug, you kind of mentioned like the background there, but like, what is your favorite actual quote in the movie?
Yeah, I'd like the Indianapolis speech. That whole speech, if you could count that as a quote, would be my favorite.
Yeah.
His speech in that town hall meeting, same thing. If you could count a speech as a quote, it would be that also. Something real minor. In his speech, he says, "I'll never put on a life jacket again," after giving his whole thing in the water. And
yeah.
Towards the end of the movie, when the boat's starting to get hit and water's coming in, and Quint throws a life jacket to Brody and Hooper, but he has no life jacket for himself, just to tie back to that quote. I think that's pretty cool.
I'm gonna go with I'll find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. And then just the way he says it, you get the head, the fin, the whole damn thing. Like the whole, and like one of you guys said earlier with the nails on the chalkboard, and just like the writer that's like the town writer that's kind of like an Airbnb person almost back in the, it's like she almost wants her property value to be high, so she wants to write a good story to keep the property values up. They want to keep the beaches open for the tourism, all that stuff. But I just thought that was a great scene and a great way to introduce that character that wasn't even seen before then. Or maybe he was, but like really wasn't introduced until then. So if you guys have any other ones, just, feel free to throw them out.
You said the Mayor Vaughn quote on the Barracuda is great, but also when he's like, this is not the time or the place to perform some kind of half-ass autopsy on a fish. And I'm not going to stand here and see that thing cut open and see that little Kittner boy spill all over the dock, which he kind of says it like a dick, but actually it's, when you think about it, that was actually like pretty sensible line there. It would make a lot of sense if they cut that thing open and the falls out. That would have been horrible. But he kind of like delivered it like just in a typical Mayor Vaughn kind of asshole smug fashion.
Oh yeah.
I thought another classic one even too, I think, is not even by a major character in the movie, but when the two guys are out, trying to, like, they're throwing the big roast out in the water and they're trying to catch it, and when he finishes it off, he says, "Can we go home now?" I think that's a pretty classic.
That's good, like unintentional comedy,
right?
Like built into this movie. And that's what makes it great. It's got like a little bit of everything. There's like a little bit of humor. There's like, the scene when you finally see the shark. There's the scene underwater when the head pops out, and like that still makes me jump no matter how many times I see it. I watched it, this year in 2025. First time I probably watched it was like 1989 or something, and I probably jumped then, and just as much as I did now. So yeah, that's a great one. I did want to mention, you brought up Kittner, the boy. I read something where a lady walked in to like a diner, and it was like on the menu, like the kid's name was on the menu as like a sandwich, and like I think the woman, the actual mom, ordered it or something like that, and then she found out later that the owner of the restaurant, diner, whatever it was the little boy, like her son, and they hadn't seen each other since. So I
actually just read about that recently. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I was doing some research for this a couple weeks ago, and I remember reading that, and that like stuck with me. I might have got it a little bit wrong.
No, I think you're dead on.
You got it.
But I just thought that was kind of cool because, I mean, she comes up with, the headdress, the the widow kind of look. I don't know what you call it when it's your son that dies or gets eaten by a shark, but when she slaps him, like the whole town is looking at him and stuff like that. So, and Brody was in like the worst position. He's being hounded on one end. He's been hounded. So it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of situation. So he plays.
And that's a great trivia too. There is that she actually did smack him because they were trying to figure out how to fake hit him, and she couldn't do it. So they just said, just haul off and smack him. And I think they had to do like 17 takes of it.
17?
So he got smacked around a lot.
All that was I got a little sun today, so I look a little burnt, but I have to see if he has like a reddish hue on one of his cheeks back then. So
they should have had like Hulk Hogan or something on there teaching her how to fake hit somebody. But
seriously.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good stuff. All right. So, we've kind of talked about our best scene, obviously the score of the movie, John Williams, best quote. All right. What piece of memorabilia from this movie would you guys want? And I'll let you, Doug, I'm going to keep it with you.
Okay.
What would you want from this movie? If you get one, whether it's small, big, in between, you get one piece of movie memorabilia, what would it be?
I'm going to say the whole boat, the orca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
even
like, would it be in tatters or like back hole?
Even if it was just somehow like walk out my back door onto the deck, and like the deck on the back of my house is the orca or something.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
That's great. Yeah, that would be really, turn it into a back porch. How cool would that be? Greg, how about you?
This is the one thing I noticed today that I never really noticed before, but I'm taking the mayor's sport coat with the anchors on it and just wearing that around in the summer on the docks.
You get invited to like one of Derek Jeter's parties in the Hamptons. Oh, that's great. And I mean, like, this movie is so Northeast in so many ways, but like that sport coat is like, I mean, you could wear that at the Kentucky Derby or in the Hamptons. That's great. Great call. For me, I'm gonna just I have a swimming pool in my backyard. So outside of my swimming pool, I would like to have one of the actual Bruces, the sharks, from Jaws. And I'm like, just imagine, like, you had people drive over, you charge them $10 a picture to put their head in that thing. Like, I mean, that's a moneymaker all day. So, give me Bruce. And I believe the shark was named because of his lawyer. I think that's like a common, people know that. That's like an easy trivia, but still kind of a cool little nugget there. All right. So how about what aged the best and what aged the worst in this movie? There's some stuff, and Doug talked about like one of the things I was going to mention, but Doug, what either aged the best or the worst in this movie for you?
Oh man, I don't know. To me, being 50 years old, I don't feel like it's that old of a movie.
Yeah.
The effects in it, like we've talked about it, like on the horror shows too. I think the effects in the movies from the 70s and 80s are even better than now, like where they're using CGI and stuff.
Yeah.
I think overall the whole movie has aged really well because I don't think it seems like it's a 50-year-old movie.
No.
Probably for the worst, I would maybe just go with what I said about Quint's background conversation. That's, like I said, not appropriate even for 1975, really, but especially now that we're in 2025.
Yeah.
Not something you want to be saying around other people.
Yeah,
especially women. Once you hear what he says.
Go back and watch put the captions on for next time you can watch it.
Right.
Greg, how about you? Age the best, age the worst.
I mean, you hit on it with what you talked a little bit about, just the concept of how scary movies are shot and how to portray fear. Mm-hmm. Now, the interesting thing was Steven Spielberg's a genius, but a lot of the reasons why the shark wasn't shown as much as it was is because of all the problems they had with the mechanical Bruces. But the idea of not showing the actual thing that is scary and making the anticipation and the unknown, the scary part, and then picking a couple instances to show the actual scary thing has really inspired, I think, 50 years of movies since.
No doubt. Okay.
And I talked about just our society's questioning of experts in science and people that are kind of throwing caution and saying, yeah, you may want to watch out for this, and in favor of maybe the decision that is best economically or best optically for whatever the town or the company or whatever, the country, so be.
I would make an analogy to a horror movie in that sense of like the kids are like screaming, there's a monster here and like it's going to hurt us, and like the parents are like, nah, you're fine, just go ahead, and then it always ends up, the parents always get bit in the ass, which they should. They deserve it, but that's the analogy I would make there too. But age the best, I think it's still the score of this movie. If you play this music, the score for any person, they know what it is. They know where it's from. And I think in turn, that has like that little bit of a horror element to it that like can be, whether it's this movie or just something scary in general. I think that holds up really well. I think age the worst would probably be, oh man, that's a tough one. Like, I think age the worst could be maybe like how affordable it was to like live on the beach. It looked like, it was just like your average, Jane and Joe that were living on like a beach house in Nantucket. And I know prices are like sky high. So I would say probably that. But like that really doesn't have like a major theme in the movie. But also maybe, why didn't they take Dreyfus's boat out instead of Quentin?
That's true. Right.
Like I've thought about that too. I'm like the Orca, I'm sure that's been through it's got some stories like Quint does, but why didn't they take Richard Dreyfuss's boat out, which had all the bells and whistles and was brand new, it looked like, compared to his? Doug, do you know anything on that, or am I just?
Yeah, I don't know that. Well, I know like in his speech in the town hall meeting, he says, like, I don't want no captains, I don't want no mates.
Yeah.
He didn't want anybody going with him, so it was supposed to be his job going out.
Sure.
I think he probably had a lot of pride in his own boat.
Yeah.
To kind of go with that, and even some of the other things that I've said, for anybody who likes the movie, there's a book that came out a couple years ago, and it's out as an audiobook now. As of this year, it's called The Book of Quint. And it's written by a guy named Ryan Dacco. He has a podcast also called The Jaws Obsession. But this book pulls every little detail, any little thing that Quint said through the movie, and it's a whole, like, I don't know, 400-page book about Quint's backstory, like where the boat came from, his whole Indianapolis experience, even him dealing with Murray Hamilton and like that mafia. So like it does say a lot about the boat in there, but not really why they would take his boat out versus Hooper's. But yeah, for anybody who's a fan of the movie and hasn't read that book, that's definitely one you'd want to look for, or even the audiobook to listen to. It's really, really good.
Interesting. And I know they had people like spotting on the beach. They had like some Coast Guard or whatever out there, and they had like someone in a tower looking. But now I think something that maybe aged poorly was like trusting man with that, when you could have a drone probably up there and like giving like coordinated spots where the shark might actually be, or if it was safe to swim or not too. So I think now they'd probably bring in like better technology. But again, 1975, they were doing pretty damn good job back then. And I think, those are a little darker waters up in the Northeast too. So shark might be able to hide a little bit better.
And they don't really, and I guess this is, I mean, it's kind of cool, but I mean, Doug, you've seen the movie a lot. Like, as much as I've seen it, I still don't really know what the strategy is on how they're going to kill the shark.
Yeah.
But I think that's just part of the mystique of the movie. But I don't really know exactly what they're doing. And they don't really talk about what they're doing.
Yeah. Do you think they know what they're doing, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they really did know what they were getting into until they were out there and they just were trying different things. Like it eventually got to the point where they were going to try to drag it back in, like drown it, dragging it back in versus just hunting it out there. But even like going like with that book, even the barrels, like they go into so much detail on the barrels and like the purpose of those, just to try to tire it out. Like it can't pull so many barrels down, and then it does pull more down than what they expect. So I think their plan is changing while they're out there when they're realizing like this is bigger than we expected.
Okay. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Good way to look at it. Yeah.
All right, let's go into a little recasting. I don't know much about who was supposed to be. The only person I did read was Charlton Heston, read for I don't know, was it Hooper or Quint? I can't remember.
Charlton Heston was actually the studio's choice for Brody.
Oh, for Brody.
Yeah.
Okay, my mistake.
Yeah. I'll let you guys add anything onto that, and then I'll add anything extra that you don't.
No, that was literally the only one I had. So
there's all kind of books that I've read and everything. So I have information here for each of the characters. But
I would say go ahead and run with this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't bury the lead here.
Yeah, for like recasting, I wouldn't want to recast any of the characters. I would want it exactly the way that it was. But for other ideas that they had, Charlton Heston was the studio's choice for Brody. Spielberg's first choice for Brody was Robert Duvall, who played in The Godfather. Yeah. And that came out real close to this time. I don't remember, 73 or 72 maybe.
72, yep.
For Quint, Sterling Hayden was offered the job. And he's actually the police captain that's in The Godfather.
Yep.
Okay.
And then another one that was offered the job was Lee Marvin, who's from The Dirty Dozen. Was offered the job also. And then for Hooper, two of the guys that they were trying to get, Jeff Bridges was one, and John Voight was another. That they were trying for.
John Voight.
So
He's probably too busy coaching the Coyotes.
I couldn't imagine the movie with anybody different in it.
No,
but it is interesting to see like who they were trying to get or who they wanted for those jobs or for those roles.
Interesting.
And Spielberg, I know Spielberg wasn't necessarily the first choice to direct either. Mm-hmm. So I think there was somebody, I'm not sure exactly the story, but yeah, it is always interesting with these movies, how they come together. But to your point, Doug, I feel like with the top three characters, they couldn't have, you can't picture it with anyone else, right?
Yeah. I mean, even for casting, like I said about Ben Gardner or so many of the people that were in the movie, like Alex Kittner and like Brody's son, so many characters in the movie were just people from the island. They weren't.
Oh, wow.
They weren't like big actors. They might have been actors, but were from that area, or some of them were just like, they just had tryouts for people to come and try for parts. And a lot of those people were just actual island people.
That's cool.
In the movie.
Speaking of that island and characters, like when they're panning the crowd, this is after the first shark attack with the girl and before the second one, when he's kind of on the beach and they do that wide out shot later. Mm-hmm. There's like in the background, there's like a baseball game playing and it sounds like it's the Red Sox, but I read that was actually like completely fake, made up. And a lot of the people that are playing in that game are like names of like producers and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of a cool point. I had read a while back. I don't know if it's true, but that's kind of a fun little
that's interesting
to throw in there, a little Easter egg. So, but as far as like other characters, I agree 100%. Like I mean, this movie might be just as great, if not better, with someone different, but I don't really need to find out because it's pretty perfect as it is. So, great point there. All right, let's. So we've talked about a bunch of facts and trivia. We can still build those in, but let's go to complaints and grievances. with this movie. And like I said, I kind of shared one of mine was like, why not go out on the better boat than the Orca? That's one of my complaints. Another complaint is when Hooper's at home with his wife, and he's talking about like, I don't think he'll ever swim again with what happened today. But and then she's like, I'm not afraid of him going in the water. And then she looks at a book, and it's like a shark like biting a boat, and she's like, get out of the water. It's like you do know that shark could have done that before you saw that picture. So that's one of my complaints and grievances with this movie. But it's like a dumb little thing I noticed there. So either one of you got anything that maybe is questionable in this?
I'm not going to add anything here.
I was going to say, I mean, I mentioned like the kind of, it's a little fuzzy how they're trying to get the shark. Why Hooper even goes down into the cage there towards the end. Like it's a little, but like I don't know. It's pretty damn perfect for the most part. Like it's just not, it's not one of those.
I got one more.
Go ahead.
I got one more nitpick. When he's getting eaten, like I don't know if it's the scream, because the scream is very visceral, or if it's like the shark chomping down. If I can tell it's maybe fake, whether it's the body or the shark, I don't know. But like again, that's a very minor nitpick.
It's the shark's very limp, like for you're thinking for this like killing machine. I would assume it would be like thrashing, and it's just kind of like this limp piece of your prop. Yeah, for 1975, I think really great. Clearly if they did it now, it would be, the whole thing would be CGI'd. It would be shot in some tank in Hollywood. It wouldn't be shot in the actual water. So it's like the trade-off. Like it's really cool that they shot this in the actual water, so you don't see that in movies today. But yeah, clearly the as we noted, there are a lot of problems with the shark, and that's you kind of hit that on the head. That's a little, if you were to, I think when Brody's chumming and the shark pops out, I think that's awesome.
Yes.
But the Quint getting eaten is a little bit like that. Looks like it's fake.
Like and again, I'm being very nitpicky on like a near perfect movie. So,
but also like brutal at the same time.
Very
like blood coming out of his mouth, and there are some really brutal, scary scenes. For a PG movie. Yeah.
And how about the damn dog at the beginning? We don't even see that die and get eaten. Thank God, because a dog getting eaten would be way sadder than one of those. All right, so let's just go to a few more. Like I really don't think this movie has a lot of restrictions, a lot of complaints. The one thing that I will say aged poorly that I forgot to get to, this movie was rated PG. I had to triple check that.
Yep.
But like, I'm pretty sure you see a naked girl's ass. You see at least 2 people get eaten, and it's got some language in it. And so, I mean, parental guidance suggested. You see PG on movies like Frozen and like stuff like that. You don't see PG on Jaws. Jaws today is minimum PG-13, probably rated R. So
no, one thing is they didn't have the PG-13 rating in 1975.
Okay.
Well,
so it was either PG or R. And I think they actually had to cut some things to get it to PG. But I would say I'm surprised too. I'm surprised it's not R. It's a scary ass PG movie.
I mean,
scary. It's a really, really scary movie.
It is. It's terrifying.
Legitimately scary.
One piece of trivia I had down that I just read about recently, and I saw it when I watched the movie again a couple weeks ago, that I never noticed before until I read this. But when the guy on the boat gets eaten, like the Boy Scout guy or whatever,
Yeah.
Gets eaten by the shark, and you just see his leg fall down with a shoe on it. When the shark hits his boat and he gets attacked, he falls back and his feet go up in the air. He has no shoes on, but when that leg falls down, he's got a shoe on.
Interesting. Okay.
I never knew that.
I'm gonna have to watch that
after I read that.
Come on, Spielberg.
Yeah.
Get together.
Yeah. Well, he didn't win he didn't win Best Picture that year. That's probably because of that. But can you guys name any other movies that were that came out that year? That's a very specific question. 50 years ago, but
Halloween. I know we do our horror movies every year for your October show, but Halloween came out in 1975.
Oh, damn. Okay.
But that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
So I may have
no, that's fine. You did some
because
research.
I listened to the rewatchables version of this like yesterday on my drive to baseball. But I do know that the Oscar winner for that year was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it basically swept all the categories. It was one of the few movies where it won like Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Director, Best Picture, Best Screenplay. I think it swept the big five. So that was big. But it is crazy that Spielberg was not nominated for Jaws. Yeah. Jaws is not nominated for Best Picture, and none of the actors were nominated for any of the actors.
Correct. I'm looking at it right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is his name is the director of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Milos?
Milos Forman, yes.
Another one from
another one, yeah. And incidentally, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is a fantastic movie.
Great movie. Just but maybe not in the rewatchable category.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not one you're like firing up every 4th of July to be like, all right, I'm ready for Cuckoo's Nest again. So Jaws is definitely like what happens often with the Oscars. The best picture is not always the most lasting.
Exactly.
Movie of that year.
There's some recognizable names though. I'm looking at the list real quick. Dog Day Afternoon.
That's a great movie.
Nashville's on there. That's I don't know. I've heard of that. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Hey, Justin, I was wrong. Halloween was 1978. I thought it was.
1978. Okay.
I just double checked myself when you didn't.
But it's funny. It's like, I mean, it's so weird to think like a movie in 2022 is now the equivalent to Jaws and that. You know what I mean? Right. It's so weird. Yeah. To think like 50 years ago isn't, depending on however old you are, it's probably ancient or it's probably not that far away. But for us, like, again, this came out before we were born and it still has a lasting legacy because it holds up that well. So that's great stuff there. Any unanswerable questions? Now, I know there was, I actually don't remember Jaws 2. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember like the plot or anything. I didn't do any research on it. But like, is it the same cast? Is it the same, is it the same shark? Oh, well, it's obviously not the same shark, but is it like the same? Is it like a sibling of that shark or something? Doug, what do you remember about that?
Some of the same cast. Brody is in it still.
Okay.
His wife is in it still. His sons are both in it, but cast by different people.
Okay.
Murray Hamilton is still in it.
So he got reelected then?
Yeah, there's some characters that are still in it. Quinn's obviously not in it. Hooper's not in it. It is more, I would say, like, Jaws is categorized as a horror movie.
Yeah.
I've never really looked at it as a horror movie, but I would say Jaws 2 is a scarier movie than Jaws.
Really?
I would say like the attack scenes are a little bit more brutal, and I would say it's a scarier movie.
Is it the same
Jaws.
Location?
It's the same location, yeah.
Okay, because I remember there was another one, and it was like at a SeaWorld type place. So I do remember that one. But
yeah, even a fourth one, Jaws: The Revenge, was in the Bahamas. So
well, there you go. Okay,
yeah.
So you guys got some homework to do if you're going to watch the whole Jaws franchise. But like this one really does just stand out. Oh, as you were talking and naming the characters, I have one more nitpick to this movie. Is there one black person in this movie?
No.
Is there one like any other race than a white
No.
person in this movie.
So
I don't think so.
that is a difference though in the book. I believe there is a black character in the book that's
Okay.
not in the movie.
Okay.
And then I know for sure in Jaws 4, or not Jaws 4, but Jaws the Revenge is the fourth movie. One of the main guys in that is a black guy.
Okay.
But yeah,
I
think
don't know.
there is at
Like
all in
you,
the
I don't-
movie.
you were going
I don't
through the
think
cast, and I'm like,
I don't think there are any minorities in this
No.
movie whatsoever.
interesting. Okay. And we are talking like a New England town in
Right.
the 1970s. So yeah, that's probably accurate. Okay. All right. Interesting. So like I mentioned, any other unanswerable questions in this movie for you guys?
I'm always curious how long it took them to get back to shore at the end of the movie, how far they are away from shore, and if they encountered any other sharks on the way back. It just always, I mean, I like the open ending, and it's kind of like Quentin make it, the tide's with us today, but
Yeah.
like they're pretty far out there. They don't have a radio, and that's probably, it's another movie in and of itself for them to see what happens to them on the way back. Obviously they made it back because they made another movie, but
Like The Shallows. Did you ever see The Shallows with Blake Lively? If you haven't, it's well worth it if you're a Blake Lively fan, to just watch her swim around for an hour. But
I always kind of thought they weren't out as far as you think they are, because at the end they're like, you see them as the credits are coming, you see them getting back on the beach.
oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
if
there
you're
you go.
watching, you could see them kind of like drifting in, and then you see them get up and start walking and when the credits are going. So they're probably
so they're
out
really
as
not
far.
that far. Okay.
They make it seem like they're way out in the middle of the
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah.
But I would say that they're probably not out as far as they make it seem like,
That makes
or
sense.
as far as it seems like to us in the movie.
That makes sense.
yeah, I kind of just want to know if there's any repercussions for the mayor or for the town. Like, who, they don't have to pay that $10,000 anymore, do they? So does that money go back to the town, or does that go to a
To the
family
estate
member?
or something. Yeah. I'm sure there were lawsuits filed.
There had to be.
You would think.
The Kittner boy and the girl that went like, late night swimming, early morning swimming, after that party.
So like that, I didn't realize, I didn't notice this the first time, but the guy, like the guy that was with the girl who was killed at the beginning, what an asshole! Like when he's talking to Brody, he's just like, yeah, she must have just tried. Like he's just very like not shaken up, like not really.
Yeah, good point.
Dude is a total sociopath. He's just like, yeah, she must have just drowned. That's what happens all the time when I, meet somebody and we go try to hook up in the ocean and I pass out on the beach.
That's a good point.
It's bad. Yeah.
Even on the ferry too that you talked about, Justin, when Murray Hamilton or like Mayor's giving the speech, is he said about like a boating accident, and then the guy who's like the coroner that's in the, in the coroner's office there, he's on there with him, and when he says boating accident, the coroner's like, yeah, it could have been a boating accident. Like,
yeah,
going with
the coroner,
the mayor's saying.
The mob is totally in the coroner's.
Right.
They're all after him. That's like an unwritten thing you can pick up right there.
Right.
He's in some trouble.
I just had as a note for unanswerable questions, just like I said, that book of Quint.
Yeah.
That will answer questions you didn't even know that you had. But when you rewatch the movie after reading that or after listening to that book, you just realize how many little small details that book picks up on and puts like whole chapters. Like he talks about the arm wrestling when they're on the boat, or when like Greg, you talked about comparing scars. He like points up at his head. He's like, St. Patty's Day, Naco Nolan's in Boston. Like there's a whole chapter about that. And in his speech, he talks about like his friend Herbie Robinson, baseball player, Cleveland. Like there's a whole thing about that. Like, the book is literally outstanding. It's the best book I've ever read. It's better than the book Jaws.
Wow.
Oh.
I mean, the movie Jaws is way better than the book, but this book of Quint is really good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
I mean, we need to get Doug on like the payroll for that. Like you're selling it. That's really good. The Book of Quint. All right. MVP of this movie. What do you guys have for MVP of this movie?
Oh man. Well, as much I'm with you, Doug. Like Quint's my favorite character, but I think what this did for a young Steven Spielberg and the rest of his career is pretty probably. I mean, if he's not the most influential, famous filmmaker of all time, he's in the top three. Um, I think you got to go Spielberg here. Is it basically was his first major popular movie, and he has not looked back since.
No.
And he's given us so many just absolutely iconic all-time movies, and he's still going.
So let's go over some of those movies real quick since you brought that up. So Jaws, obviously 1975, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Schindler's List, E.T., Jurassic Park, The Color Purple, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Saving Private Ryan, Munich, The Fabelmans, which just came out like 3 years ago. He did the Lincoln movie. There's just been so many more. All the Indiana Jones. He did Minority Report, West Side Story. I mean, the guy's category, like his, it's just an insane resume for him.
I would even say too, if we're not going to go like the character route as an MVP here, even Richard Dreyfuss was not an established actor at that point, and just the acting career he has had, even still, he's still in movies now.
Yeah.
But he's had a really good career since the movie also.
No doubt. I'll say, okay, Steven Spielberg's off the table. I'm going to probably say John Williams then with the score, because that score still holds up. And when you think of John Williams, you know the score for Indiana Jones, you know the score for Raiders of the Lost Ark or the Jurassic Park series, stuff like that. It's just like unbelievable, iconic stuff that guy has done. Home Alone, right? He did Home Alone too.
Yep.
So it's he's done
Star Wars, Superman. Yeah. I think even like the Olympics. Like literally, like
can't the guy
pretty
do
much everything good that has come out, he's part of.
Yeah. So if I can't take Spielberg, I'm taking him as getting the silver in this category. Doug, how about you? Who's your MVP?
Yeah, like I added Richard Dreyfuss there from the actor side. He's the one that had the best career after the movie.
So tell me, he had some issues. Like, I know he had some problems with what's his name that played Quint in the movie. Like he was almost like bullying him in the movie. But then like he's had some like kind of off the field troubles, I believe too. Is he had like some drinking or like drug and alcohol problems off the stage, or am I making that up?
I think
I don't know about that.
Dreyfuss is, I think, been difficult. Like he's been notoriously difficult, I think, on set, and maybe not exactly the most well-liked guy. I think he has some strong opinions on things as well. That's gotten him into a little bit of trouble, but and like just noteworthy feuds. I think when he was What About Bob? I think him and Bill Murray like hated each other, which again, you're talking about Bill Murray, like Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. So I mean, I just think like a lot of actors, the personalities are he's a strong personality and isn't necessarily the most well liked by.
I just looked him up, and he does have like a bipolar manic depression type syndrome. So that could be where the red wine versus white wine comes in. He's all happy, and versus like where he's pissed off.
You should let that breathe.
Yeah, I let that breathe a little bit. What do you think?
That is actually a really funny party. Does he like pour that wine bottle into like a cup with like ice and like drink in it? Like
then he pours for the others, and he just pours just like a normal amount of wine.
Yeah, and then they're like right back out there on the water. So
yeah.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So we've kind of got through pretty much everything on our list here. So I'm just going to leave it up to you guys. I'm going to kind of close my case. This is one of the better movies of all time for me. And you know, that's kind of where I leave it. It's well acted. It's well directed. The scene, the music, everything. But go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, do you want to touch on a couple like trivia points?
Oh
like,
yeah.
I got just a few quick ones that.
Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier, like Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss, like they had some issues. I mean, surprise, surprise, Robert Shaw was drunk a lot on set. I think I saw some quotes that was like he was the kindest, nicest man, but then when he had a drink, he just turned into an animal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a notorious story about Shaw basically challenging Richard Dreyfuss to climb to the top of the Orca and jump off, and he was going to give him $1,000 to do it, and he like continued to torment him about it constantly, and he would up the price, and finally Spielberg just told him to shut up. But it just reminds me, like Justin, we know like friends from our childhood and stuff that they would just dare you to do something stupid. That's what it felt like. Like he would just drink and he would just pick on Dreyfuss and just try to get him to do weird stuff. Along those same lines, I guess the first time they shot the scenes in the Orca, in the USS Indianapolis story and all that, like Robert Shaw got so drunk that his dialogue was pretty much inaudible and they couldn't use it. So he had to convince Steven Spielberg to let him shoot it again, and he did, and that's when they shot it. What you see in the movie, where he still seems like he was pretty drunk, but
good choice to reshoot it though.
yeah. This was like a cool one. I mean, there's a lot, but this was a really cool one, and I'm interested if Doug will probably be like, yeah, of course, idiot. But like the boat name Orca, so Orca is a killer whale. The shark, the great white shark's only known predator is the killer whale. So it's a symbolic name that they named the boat the Orca that was hunting sharks. So I was today years old when I learned that. So I was just thought that was interesting.
Chess, not checkers, right there.
So, no idea. And I also didn't know killer whales will like hunt or kill sharks. So that tells you like how crazy
I think
powerful killer whales are.
All right, I want to say this. I could be totally bullshitting, but I think I remember once hearing like killer whales actually might be sharks that are just mislabeled whales. I could be totally wrong. I'm gonna do a little marine biology while you guys are talking. So,
and to answer that question, we brought Richard Dreyfuss onto the show. Famed oceanographer. No, that's a good. I didn't know that. I don't doubt it.
Killer whales are not sharks. They're toothed whales, specifically the largest members, though, of the dolphin family.
Interesting.
Okay, so they're dolphins, big
ass dolphins that could kill great white. So like, yeah, it was just weird because if you would ask me like in the ocean pecking order, I would have said the great white shark is at the top of the food chain. But it sounds like the killer whale might at least be even, if not sit a little bit above the great white, which is crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm. Then there's the megalodon, which is out there.
So those are the main ones. I mean, there's I would encourage anybody to look at IMDb trivia. You could spend a day pretty much because there's just so much. The movie's so popular and been out for so long that there's a lot of stuff out there.
Okay.
I'll add some trivia stuff here. I'll start like going off of the Orca name there. The boat that they used to make the Orca, and this goes into the Book of Quint too. There's a whole thing about that is that the name of the boat was Warlock, and you can get the name Orca out of Warlock, just like individual letters. Okay. But in that Book of Quint, they say like that it's like a superstition or whatever, that if you're taking an old boat, that you have to change the name of it. You can't keep the name of the boat. So they take the letters off and they put up Orca back on the boat in the book there. But yeah, the actual boat that they used to make the Orca in the movie was called the Warlock. Kind of to tie into to like our horror show that we do in the fall. But Ben Gardner's head that pops out. Greg Nicotero from The Walking Dead. For anybody who's seen the show, the governor was one of the characters earlier in the show, has a whole tank of heads, like in his office or whatever. And one of them is like a remake or a replica of Ben Gardner's head in one of the tanks. That I never knew that until later on. I'm just trying to see. I had a list of stuff here, just things that maybe wouldn't be things you'd read on IMDb.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that was cool that I never knew either that I read maybe about a year ago, when they're out on the boat and the Coast Guard comes through the radio and Quinn answers it, that's actually Steven Spielberg that's talking on the radio there as the Coast Guard. Another thing too, Greg, you were talking about they're just having a lot of trouble with the shark in the movie. There's actually a play that's like about the making of Jaws, but it's called The Shark is Broken, and it's written by Robert Shaw's son, whose name is Ian Shaw, and he plays Quint in the play, and he looks a lot like him. If you could look up a picture of Ian Shaw from The Shark is Broken, he looks really good. Like if you could recast Quint, he would be a good one to pick if you could see him. I mentioned a few things already. Those are probably just a few that, like Greg said, look on IMDb. There's all kinds of trivia, but those maybe be a few that you wouldn't see on there or wouldn't hear like in a documentary.
Oh wow, I'm looking at his son right now.
Dead Ringer. It's like the same person.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Wow.
Here, I gotta share the screen.
And even if you hear him talk or give a quote from Quint, he's the same.
That's really great.
Oh, yeah, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, it looks. That's amazing.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Okay, all right, good deal. Well, before we close out, do any of you guys have any other, like this one? I feel like is pretty like tightly wrapped because there's not a whole lot to nitpick. There's not a whole lot to complain about. It's a very simple kind of plot line. And, it's just really, really good from start to finish. I feel like a lot of times when we do movie breakdowns, they're like longer than the actual movie. This one's going to be, like a little shorter, obviously. But any other things you guys can think of that like maybe we didn't talk about?
I'll throw one more out real quick that I had on my trivia list. You were talking about Steven Spielberg's other movies.
Yeah.
Another one that he had, I think it was his first movie, actually, Duel. And I think it was like a TV movie. I think it was did better like outside of the United States, but in the US it was more of just like a made for TV movie. Okay. But the sound when the shark is going down at the end of Jaws is the same as the sound when the big truck's going like over the cliff at the end of Duel. They use the same sound.
Okay.
I actually, it's funny. I had a page pulled up on Duel because I've heard that is a fantastic movie.
It actually is a good movie.
And I've never seen it, and I want to see it. I think it was legitimately his first like full length movie too.
Yeah, I think Justin. I think I had maybe mentioned that one on one of our horror shows that we had done in the past. There's like hardly any dialogue, or not even dialogue, but like even just speaking. There's hardly any in the entire movie because this guy is just in his car, being chased by a truck, the whole movie. So there's nobody in the car with him. It's just him by himself, and he says a couple things a couple times, like reacting to this truck driver coming after him. But there's like hardly any talking in the whole movie. But it is a pretty good movie though, actually.
Yeah,
it's like, and there was a movie. There's a similar plot to a more recent movie.
Yes.
What is that movie?
Joyride.
Joyride.
Yeah,
Joyride.
Joyride.
About that
I think it's the similar idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's interesting because Spielberg's done so much, but I think at his core, like, I agree with you, Doug. Like, it's like, I don't consider Jaws to be a horror movie, but the suspense thriller,
right,
is really seems like that was kind of how he started, and I feel like that's kind of his bread and butter.
because even the same thing is like in Jaws, not seeing the shark. Like in Duel, you don't ever see the truck driver. It's just the truck coming after him. So you have no idea what the reason is for the guy coming after him. You don't see what he looks like. He never says anything, but he's just coming after him the whole movie.
It's just the fear of the unknown.
And that is like, I mean, that's huge. I mean, we've all been like at night driving on a highway and there's a semi truck behind you. And like those things, when you just look back at them, they can be a little scary looking. Like, it's just, it doesn't have to be a shark. It can be like, that's really interesting.
Go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
I was just gonna say one other thing too. You were talking about just in general, even if it's not sharks, but if you're in the ocean, if you can't touch, or if you're in any water, even a lake, if you can't touch, you have no idea what's underneath you. But the opening scene where Chrissy Watkins is out in the water swimming and they're shooting up from underneath her in the water, that was actually shot in California, not in Martha's Vineyard, because the water wasn't clear enough to get that shot in Martha's Vineyard. So they actually filmed that in California.
Interesting. Okay. And I feel like I'm going through like a Tony Soprano psychology session here, like on the couch, because to me, I keep coming back to that. It's like the fear of the unknown, whether it's the semi truck or it's the shark or it's just whatever in life that you feel like might be chasing you. That's scary. Like when you don't know. It's not because like when it's something tangible, you can put your finger on or identify. It's like not as scary when they're like shooting the barrels at the shark because you kind of know where it's at. Mm-hmm. All in all, it's still scary as hell because you're out in open water with a man-eating beast. But like, I don't know. To me, it's still like those opening scenes are maybe scarier than when they're actually going head to head with the shark. So,
and you could probably, you could argue that outer space is probably the biggest unknown in our universe, but I would say the ocean's got to be the second biggest.
Well, isn't there some like weird percentage of like we've only searched like 2 to 5% of our ocean, like completely?
I believe it.
Something really small.
I believe it. Yeah.
There's some probably horrifying shit out there, way scarier than even Jaws. So
even kind of connecting to that too, like even going back to the music in the movie, but and even just a quote that is kind of cool in the movie when Quint hooks a fish on his pole and he's like strapping himself in and everything, and Hooper's saying it's just a gaming fish, and that Quint knows like that's not what this is. But the music in that scene is intense and you don't know what's happening. Hooper's trying to say it's a gaming fish, it's nothing. But then the quote that goes with it after the line breaks off, and it's like the piano wire that breaks, like it wouldn't have been a gaming fish. But he says, like, you college boys don't know when to admit that you're wrong. It's a cool line too. You wealthy college boys.
That's so good. All right. Well, any final notes that maybe we didn't touch upon, or you think that's a good wrap it up? Let's send it to print.
I'm gonna add one more thing, I guess, because this would have just been like a Robert Shaw thing. But when he says, and this is them getting ready on the boat to go out, when he says, "Here lies the body of Mary Lee. She died at the age of 103." That whole thing.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's actually on a headstone. I don't remember if it's in Ireland or England or somewhere, but that's actually on a headstone somewhere that information he gave out.
Interesting. I love stuff like that. That stuff is like sometimes more fun than just watching the actual movie, learning like all the trivia and stuff behind it. So, well, real quick, I know like Doug's been a part of some of these, Greg's been a part of some of these, but like we have done Happy Gilmore, Home Alone 2, we've done Goodfellas, Varsity Blues, A League of Their Own, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Definitely more that I'm missing, but those are some of the movie breakdowns we've done. We are definitely going to do more. If there's any more you guys want to hear, please like throw them in the comments or whatever. Because this is, to me, I love talking sports and stuff like that. But to me, this is like, I have so much fun doing these episodes and learning stuff. And it's cool. The next time you watch it, you can kind of like look for like little subtle stuff that maybe you missed the first 22 times you watch the movie. So that's what makes it fun. So Greg, Doug, be safe out there if you're heading into ocean waters or anything, or, just any unknown fears out there for you. But this is always a great time. I appreciate you guys joining us, and make sure, again, you guys subscribe, like, and follow the channel, and that really helps us out, and Youngstown Studio and the 330 Sports Show. So again, for Greg, for Doug, I'm Justin. Everybody enjoy your day. Again, this has been the 50th anniversary of the movie breakdown of the movie Jaws.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and